Hi everybody, it's me, Rob LaRocca, and I'm here to do a review on one of my favorite albums of all time, Mob Rules. And it's actually my favorite Black Sabbath album that they ever recorded. I was prompted to do this review because I learned of the unfortunate passing of Martin Birch. Yesterday I saw the notice on Facebook. I'm not sure which day he died, but he's gone and I'm very, very sad about that. Martin Birch produced most of my favorite music. All the Dio with Rainbow. He produced all the great Iron Maiden albums up to Fear of the Dark. The two, in my opinion, the two best Black Sabbath albums that were ever recorded, Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules. Plus he also produced Whitesnake Slide It In, which is a classic. That's an awesome album. So I'm very sad that Martin Birch is no longer with us. So I decided to do this review. It's not really a tribute to Martin, but it's not good enough to call it that. But I wanted to do something that talked about how much it meant to me, and so I do this little album review. I've been thinking about it, oddly, for a while now too, just thinking about doing a Mob Rules since it's so important to me. Mob Rules came out in 1981. It's the second Black Sabbath album to feature Ronnie James Dio as a singer. I believe it's the 10th studio album. It was recorded at a place called the Record Plant, I think, in Los Angeles. That's what it says on Wikipedia. Tony Iommi apparently said that was a last-ditch effort because they had tried to basically almost even buy their own studio. They tried everything they could to get the sound right, and they weren't able to. So they ended up going with Martin Birch in the studio in Los Angeles, which I think was a great decision. And in my opinion, it sounds amazing. The EQing on this album, the sound spectrum, the way that Martin was able to capture it and then mix it and master it is amazing. It's a great sounding album. You should definitely, I know that most of the people that will watch this have already heard Mob Rules a million times, so I don't need to tell you to pick up a copy and check it out, but it's awesome. Tony Iommi, one of the things I was reading that I thought was very interesting, Iommi actually is not a huge fan of this album. He says that the whole band was using drugs at the time, and that even Martin Birch was using a lot of drugs, and Iommi believes that this cost them something in terms of the sound quality for the recording. I can't hear it. Whatever drugs he was doing, I want to do some of those drugs because this is my favorite Black Sabbath album and it's just amazing. But Iommi, he says he likes the album, but he feels it could have been a lot better. He said, for one thing, the material wasn't that strong, which, man, I don't know. I mean, it's some of my favorite stuff that they've ever done. And many Sabbath fans say the same thing. The album starts out with a great tune called Turn Up the Night. Turn Up the Night's in a major key. It's in E major. It's up-tempo. It's about 160 beats a minute. Awesome song. Really cool. An opener, kind of like Neon Nights or something from Heaven and Hell, that type of feel. There is a wah solo from Tony that is just blistering in that song. Perfect. And when someone can lead in a major key, that's an experienced and very masterful guitar player. This dude can play. He's wailing that hard in a major key. Yeah, it's good. I think the high point of the song, Dio hits a note when he says, "Never get home." Never get home. Remember that part? Okay. That is amazing. That feels like that's the peak, the apex of the song, and one of the best notes I've ever heard Ronnie James Dio hit. It's just beautifully captured, and I love the mix on this. You can hear all the instruments. It's really cool. One of the things that a producer will do is to suggest how to arrange songs. They will suggest, he will suggest how to order the songs on the album. And I think that's one of the things that Martin Birch did so well on Mob Rules. So the next song after Turn Up the Night is Voodoo. And Voodoo is, this is why I don't understand why Tony says he doesn't think this is strong material. I think sometimes you can't get out of your own way in order to see what's really happening. Voodoo, I believe, is Tony Iommi. It's his best guitar riff I think that he's ever written. And that is really, if this is the riff lord. And Voodoo it's an amazing guitar riff. I don't know anyone who can play that correctly. People can come close, but they just cannot nail it. Somehow that sound that he got, it's played in the A position. The bass as well. Amazing bass parts that go along with that. I love the lyrics in Voodoo. Dio uses voodoo, the word voodoo, as a metaphor for evil. Voodoo, of course, is a religion, so it's not what everyone thinks with voodoo dolls and zombies, and maybe that's a part of it, but it's more about the Loa and stuff like that. But in the lyrics for this song, Dio uses voodoo as a metaphor for evil. And one of the things that I really love, there's a line that says, "Nothing will be new because I'm through," Voodoo. But I love that, "Nothing will be new because I'm through." That, to me, there's a part, and there's a verse in the Bible where God says, "I create the light and the darkness, the good and evil. I create both of them." And I love that line, "Nothing will be new because I'm through." It's almost like Dio's referring to that. And I know he's an avid reader, and I'm sure he read a lot of the Bible and was aware of everything, or at least he knew the philosophy, because that sounds like almost he's referring to that verse. That evil doesn't come necessarily from the devil. Evil it comes from the same place as good things. Good and evil things, they all come from one source, the same thing. I love that. Nothing you do will be new because I'm through. What a great, beautiful, so poetic. It falls so nicely, into your ear as you're listening, and the meaning is incredible. Voodoo, awesome. And Voodoo, next after that is Sign of the Southern Cross. Now, the Southern Cross is actually, it's a constellation, I guess, that can be observed. It's the Southern Hemisphere star constellation. I had to look it up to make sure. It's interesting to me because I feel like Sign of the Southern Cross is almost like a sort of backhanded reference to the Petrine Cross, or the inverted Christian cross, which I think is really clever. Martin Birch said he really liked that song, Sign of the Southern Cross, because he was able to experiment with some bass effects. There's some amazing bass sounds. There are some amazing bass sounds in that song, and it segues perfectly. This is what I'm talking about when I say Martin Birch. How what a genius he was. This song segues perfectly into the next song, which is EV 150. Basically, what happens is there's a fade, da na na da, that riff, and it fades. There's a crossfade into EV or E5 150. When I was young, when I first got this tape, I had Master of Reality on tape, and I was riding around getting high with my friend, and he had Mob Rules. We were listening to Mob Rules, and Mob Rules, we listened to the whole tape, and then we're still smoking weed, and then I gave him Master of Reality, and he put it in, and he loved the song Sweet Leaf. So he asked if I wanted to trade Mob Rules for Master of Reality, and we did trade. And I remember listening to Mob Rules when I was shoveling snow in the driveway, just freezing cold, listening to this gigantic album. It was amazing. Anyway, back to I remember I'm sorry. What I was going to say about that is when that tape came out, it was EV 150. So that's how I'm used to saying the song. But I think everything after that is always referred to it as E5 150, E5 150, or maybe it's E50 150, dude. Totally party. That's so Van Halen. Anyway, but yeah, segue. There's a crossfade into EV 150, and then there are some synth sounds. Maybe it's like a pick scraping, the edge along the string, something. And there's bass notes with a lot of echo. It sounds like there's a backwards voice in there. Kind of crazy. It's awesome. I think it's a little around 2 minutes or a little over. If you ever drive on a bridge across a large body of water, you should put EV 150 on and crank it, and it is amazing. It just feels like the sound is echoing across the water. That's what it sounds like anyway. It sounds almost like whale noises or, something, how, if you know what I'm talking about, it's got that sound of like there's a watery sound to it. Beautiful. And I think that the whole idea for EV 150, I believe, probably came from Martin Birch, because EV 150 segues into Mob Rules. And I have a feeling that Birch was saying we need something that's going to connect these two songs. We can make Mob Rules better by putting this sort of a very elongated intro, because EV 150 does also crossfade into Mob Rules, or just it has that high part and then suddenly stops, and then you get that smack in the face with the A chord, the opening of Mob Rules. Amazing. It's perfect the way that those two things go together. And then Mob Rules, of course, it's the title track of the album. I think they recorded two versions, one for the movie Heavy Metal and one for the album. Probably my favorite vocal line in Mob Rules is when Dio says, "If you listen to fools, the mob rules." I love the meaning of that line. Yes, the mob will rule if you listen, if you listen to idiots and let yourself be influenced. It kind of reminds me of heaven and hell. When you walk through golden halls, you get to keep the gold that falls. That type of thing, which, that line in heaven and hell is so amazing, because it's basically talking about the lie of trickle-down economics, and it makes me wonder if, did Dio say that before Reagan got on his kick about, trickle-down economics? Is that's what Dio's talking about, and how big of a lie it is? And that's why I love that, if you listen to fools, the mob rules. Yeah, so don't follow idiots, because they'll lead you right over the cliff. They'll lead you into violence. And I think that is a good thing for us to think about today. Not less to think for ourselves and not get carried away by everything that everybody else is saying. But man, I love that line. If you listen to fools, the mob rules. Yeah. Next after that is Country Girl. And that's an amazing, this is where kind of the album sort of, there's like Mob Rules, sort of the crown jewel, and then you almost start going on the other side of the mountain after that. Country Girl is an amazing riff. Again, it's a simpler riff, but Tony Iommi, and he plays that so well. It's so groovy the way that he's able to play that. And the lyrics are amazing, because I feel like everyone's had that experience of falling in love with a country girl or boy, someone who lives in a rural neighborhood, and they're healthy and corn-fed, and they seem like they would be incapable of doing any harm. But of course, as we know from the lyrics, that's not the case. And especially with the country girl, she ends up breaking Dio's heart. I like. He warns against these. In fact, he says, "Don't fall in love." This is a theme that runs through some of Dio's other songs as well. But I love the part where he says, "Snatch your soul away." He also talks about his heart. That she wants to break hearts, steal your heart, steal your soul. That that equal sign in between, the heart and the soul. I like that. That's really some amazing writing as well. That song has an interlude where he says, "In dreams I think of you, and I don't know what to do with myself." It's amazing. He's basically, this is from the perspective of after the relationship, maybe very far after the relationship. He's looking back and remembering it. It's in past tense, fell in love. I'm not falling in love with a country girl. I fell in love with a country girl. And that interlude is just so beautiful. I love the part where he says, "Don't sleep or you'll find me an image in the air." That's another great example of, I wonder if Dio worked together with Martin Birch, because the song that follows Country Girl is Slipping Away. Slipping Away, it's up-tempo, another killer riff from Tony Iommi, very rockin', and there is the line in there, "Rockin' the glass, I won't leave you, my reflection," sort of almost coincides with the line from Country Girl where he says, "You're going to find me just an image in the air, image that disappears." And he talks about, you won't, basically as a way of saying, I won't, you won't see me again after what's happened with this relationship. Unbelievable. And he's trying to move on, but he can't. I think he's still talking about the same girl. I think he's slipping away. He's still talking about the country girl. And he says, "Close your eyes and I'll be gone." In Country Girl, he says, "Don't sleep or you'll find me an image in the air." And in Slipping Away, he says, "Close your eyes and I'll be gone." So it seems like it's referring to the same situation. That's a killer song with some great bass riffs. There's like a bass guitar duel or trading lead riffs. It's just fucking amazing. Geezer Butler, just playing basically the precursor of Cliff Burton playing lead guitar on bass, and you won't find better bass playing. And I think if I think that you'll find that was probably an influence on Cliff Burton. Check them both out and let me know if you agree. The next song is Falling Off the Edge of the World. It's Dio's warning for us to all be vigilant. He says he's looking around him and seeing chaos everywhere, but everybody thinks he's crazy. He's seen the demons, he's seen, the evil, he's seen the violence. And his warning to us, you think you're safe, but you're wrong. We're falling off. It's not just me that this is affecting. This is all of us. I love that because I think that's, it was true then and it's especially true now. This feeling of safety where you think, yeah, I'm okay as long as I got my place to live and I got my job. Yeah, until they fire you from your job and take away your place to live, or something even worse happens. So I love that message. Don't become complacent, and always keep your eye out for the bad things that might happen or are already happening in our case in this world now. Over and Over is the weak spot on the album. I would just skip it. I don't want to spend too much time talking about the song. It's not a very good song. In my opinion, if the album ends at Falling Off the Edge of the World. So you just basically stop there. Over and Over, it's the last song on the album. If you can't get to it in time to stop it, you let it play. It's got Dio's voice, which is great. It's a very sad song. I think they tried to copy Lonely Is a Word from Heaven and Hell. I think that was the idea. But really those first 8 songs, perfect. Absolute masterpiece. I wanted to say, Martin Birch, I'm really sorry that you're gone. You made so much incredible music that defined my life, and I will never forget you. I will never forget you, Martin. I hope that you rest in peace. Thank you so much for everything that you did for all of us, for all the people that are into heavy rock and metal.